The Democratic National Convention kicks off on Monday. The coronavirus pandemic has made this an unconventional convention. Most people will attend the events virtually. Early Sunday morning, the DNC revealed the lineup for the convention's second day. The keynote address Tuesday evening will feature a whopping 17 speakers. Organizers call them the next generation of leaders. And to talk more about an unusual convention for unusual times, let's go ahead and bring in our panel. Antjuan Seawright is a CBS News political contributor and Democratic strategist. He's in Columbia, South Carolina. And Caitlin Huey-Burns is a CBSN political reporter. She joins us from New York City. Great to see both of you. Caitlin, I'm going to start with you. Obviously, the convention is going to look really different this time around. Tell us a little bit more about the format and how it's all expected to play out.
That's right. An unconventional convention is the exact right way to describe it. This is something that we've never seen before. So what's going to happen is that most of it is going to be done virtually. The party has also lined up events across the country that will be done virtually as well to help engage people all around the United States. And then we'll see Kamala Harris and Joe Biden deliver their speeches in person on later this week in Wilmington, Delaware. Now, the challenge will be, though, to try to replicate some of the enthusiasm and energy that you get from being in a big arena with lots of people cheering for you and excited about the party. Those days are long gone in this day and age, and so we kind of got a preview for it earlier this week when Harris was announced as the vice presidential running mate. They had to deliver their introductory speeches to an empty room with just a bunch of cameras, and so when you're crafting these kinds of speeches, you usually look for big applause lines and the like. This will be very different this time around, but they're hoping that this is a way for people to be engaged in a way that they might not have been able to if it were in person. So we'll see how this plays out.
We will be watching. All right, Antjuan, Biden picked Kamala Harris for VP Tuesday. What's been the Kamala effect on the Democratic campaign? And I know, as you and I have discussed, you've been particularly interested in the effect that she's having on black male voters.
Well, I think the effect has probably gone better than expected. I'm so thankful Joe Biden decided to write Kamala Harris into history. And I said to my mother earlier today as we were discussing it, delayed does not mean denied. And although her place at the top of the ticket does not mean history, she does have a place on the ticket, and that means history. And when people see Kamala Harris, particularly black men and those who come from backgrounds and stories like mine, we see our mother, we see our sister, we see our grandmother, we see our nieces, we see our godmothers and godsisters. And so I think, based on the response I've seen so far, when you step outside the bubble, I think it's going to have a push and pull effect. I think it's going to push turnout like we've never seen before, and that, as a result, is going to pull up candidates up and down the ballot. And when the attacks start to ramp up on Kamala Harris, the one thing I think people should understand about that, I think what they meant for evil, it will end up with being for the good of the Democratic ticket. No black man in America that I can think of or around the world wants to see their mother, sister, godmother, grandmother, aunt, and so on attacked. And so these attacks against her, whether they come from Donald Trump and the Republicans in the form of racism, when they speak about birthism, or when they come from some, even on my side, who may not always have 100% agreement with Kamala Harris, I think it's going to have an effect like no one expected. And I'm very excited that history has wrapped its arms around Kamala Harris.
A really important point there, Antjuan, that not only is it the top of the ticket that matters, but turnout is going to matter for those congressional races as well. All right, Caitlin, presidential candidates, they traditionally enjoy a post-convention polling bump. Do you see this happening this year with a Zoom-type convention?
Well, we'll see. The biggest challenge for the Biden campaign is to be able to make an affirmative case for this ticket. Remember, as we've talked about before, in our polling in key battleground states, we've seen that most Biden supporters are supporting him because they see his campaign as a vehicle to take on and defeat Donald Trump. And we see that Trump supporters are largely backing Trump because they are supporting him as an individual. So the challenge for the Biden team and this new ticket is to make a positive, affirmative case for the campaign, not just as a way to go against Donald Trump, but as a vision for what the party wants to do. And remember, we're kind of in this area where the ticket, Biden and Harris, are getting a real-time test for the commander-in-chief and the vice president. We're in the middle of a global pandemic. We're in the middle of a huge economic downturn. These kinds of things will exist beyond the election. They will be the top order to address on day one of this presidency if they are elected. And so this is the real test, to be able to show enthusiasm for the ticket, not just against something, and also to show a united front in combating this kind of two-pronged crisis that they will face for months to come.
All right, Antjuan, let's talk about this 17-person keynote address. What's going on here? What's the idea? And who do you think we should be watching on Tuesday?
Well, I think conventions traditionally give the general public a chance to have a sneak preview of what is and what's to come. I think Tuesday night will be a great example of that. You're going to hear from some voices all across this country who will represent the future of this country. When I look at our ticket, and when I think about the diversity of our party, not just in gender, race, and age, but in message, geographics, we look like America. On Tuesday night, you're going to hear us sound like America. And not just America as we know it today, but America as we will possibly see it tomorrow. And I think it's so important when we're comparing apples to apples with the other side. Unfortunately, the jam-packed Tuesday night is going to have some people thinking, what in the hell is wrong with these Democrats having this many people speak in one night? But I also think it is an alley-oop for what's to come on Wednesday night and Thursday night as we really land the plane on the runway and get ourselves going as we move towards November. And I'm excited about it. We have Senator Marlon Kempson from South Carolina, which makes me so excited. And not to mention, I think what you're going to see Tuesday night is a full display of how important the ballot is from the top to the bottom. You're going to see state legislators as well as members of Congress, mayors, and all those things matter to the future of this country, and they are very important to a Democrat success in November.
You know, it is quite an ambitious thing. I'm wondering about those technical
Democrats
difficulties.
have never been shy about being ambitious.
Woo, 17 people. All right, Caitlin, you and I have both covered conventions in the past. I have to be honest with you. I am glad that I'm in this position and not yours for this. As a political reporter, how do you expect to cover a virtual convention?
That's right. Well, for starters, I would normally be on a plane to Milwaukee, where the convention was supposed to be. Instead, I'm coming to you from my New York City apartment, and this is kind of how this convention is going to be. We are going to be on the road this week in Delaware covering the Biden and Harris speeches, but it is going to be unlike any kind of coverage that we've seen. Everything has to be socially distanced. Everything has to comply, of course, with CDC guidelines, and we are still in the middle of this awful pandemic. And so as reporters, we also have to figure out creative ways to cover something like this. One big issue that I am focusing our coverage on is the issue of how to vote actually safely in this election. And that's something that we'll be talking about a lot next week with a new series that we have on voting rights and access. But also it's going to be a challenge for us, but we're up to the task to be able to not only show these speeches, but also talk about what voters across the country want to be hearing and what is important to them, and trying to get to the issues that they most care about.
That essential context. All right, Caitlin and Antjuan, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And a programming note, CBSN will have full coverage of the 2020 Democratic National Convention, which gets underway on Monday. Coverage starts at 10 a.m. Eastern and continues throughout the day. At 10 p.m., we have a CBS News 2020 America Decides special. And when those speeches come to an end, we'll be right here to recap it and break it all down with our political reporters and analysts. You can stream that here on CBSN.